Welcome everyone to the Mastermind Book Club. Fern, Trudy, Reggie, Gina, Sharon, Fan. And I want to thank you all because you could be doing anything else. You could be watching TV for all I know.
Well, I am at work, so if I have to jump off, you understand.
Got it. So you might be muted. But
Right. I am going to be muted.
I just wanted to let you know that out of the 100 things, the 100 ways to motivate yourself in this book by Stephen Chandler. Before we go into, I just want to challenge you to one thing. One thing. Is it a crazy idea for us to go on a fast for 24 hours with zero media? For zero media. Is it a crazy idea?
I do that on a regular.
Well, you know, it's tough for me because I'm in stocks and I rely on news. So, but I'm asking people to see what their input is on this, because the media can have an immensely negative impact on people unless they're taking advantage of it, like I am. I posted something in the trading group. I don't know if any of you are there. That stock, I'm already up close to $750. I'm hoping to get to 1,000 by morning. But I try to post as quickly as I can so that way people can jump in. But the media, unless you know how to use it for good, it tends to be bad. So I found out today that a lot of these wealthy billionaires have dumped their stocks from the beginning of February before this crisis happened in the US. Why would they dump it? Because they have insider information that we don't. For example, they knew that the Wuhan virus was unable to be contained and it was going to spread throughout the world. So any of us that has that type of information can benefit from the market. So I'm not asking you to live by it, but if you can, if you don't have any commitments with it, a media fast might convene you if you feel like everything is bringing you down, and you can watch and see how everything else will fall around you positively, or try and find ways that you can utilize what's being said negatively in your favor. Does that make any sense to any of you? I'm going to mute some of the lines here because I hear some background noises. Hi, I'm guessing that's Ty on the line. Tawana. Elmer, welcome to the call as well. Welcome. So before we get started, I want to give someone who's very experienced with this book a chance to talk about it, and that's Reggie. Reggie has heard this book many, many more times than I have, and I don't know if any of you have had the chance as well. Reggie, I don't know if you can speak or not. If you can, we would love to hear from you, your input into this book, Reg.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, Reg.
I'm actually going to go the other way because if I go where I'm walking, I'm about to walk past the elevated train, so I won't be able to talk because the trains will come by every so many minutes.
Got it.
So I'm going to go a different route, which keeps me away from there.
All right. So the platform's yours, and if you don't mind, I will ask you questions.
Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So I started listening to this a while ago. Years ago, I started listening to this. I don't even know how I came upon it, but I think part of it is just when you're on this path of learning and acquiring information, all that sort of stuff. I like to say, and it's pretty much the truth because you're tuned to a certain frequency. So all of this stuff starts to come to you, whether it's someone delivering it to you, whether it's you stumbling upon it on your own, and whatever may be the way in which you come in contact with it. But once you start down the path, it's basically going to be a thing where you're not going to stop, and then more and more stuff is going to be introduced to you. So I don't know when I came upon this or who it was that introduced it to me, or if, like I said, if it was me just finding it. But I listened to this a number of times. Didn't listen to it recently though, but a number of times. And I just think it's a pretty good 100 steps, if you will, 100 ways to motivate yourself. because it's things that
Yes.
you don't really think about a lot of times, right? So once you start listening to it, it's just kind of like really cool that he brings up these certain ways that you can, any one of us can just access them or just start doing them. For example, you know, training your other hand, where he talks about, you know, if you're dribbling a basketball and then, but it doesn't have to be a dribbling a basketball, just you're righty and you use your right hand. And you don't really think about your left hand, you don't use it. So, you know, we're just using one part of our body or one half of our body, or I don't know, I forget if it's the artistic side versus the logical side or whatever, but then you start to train the other side of yourself by, in this case, he used the example of using your left hand. And, you know,
Yes.
you might start out with like, oh, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. But first of all, you don't really know that. And maybe in the beginning, it seems like you're not good at it because you haven't really tried it. But then once you start to do it, you start to get better at it. And not only are you training your left hand in that case to be able to use your left hand in the case of basketball and maybe dribbling and shooting free throws or whatever, but there's more to it that comes from that you're even unaware of. And now you're actually maybe trained another side of your intellect or another side of your, you know, talents, like I said, logical versus artistic or vice versa or whatever. So now you might begin to start doing other things to be able to do things that you didn't even know you were able to do in other areas. Just because you, in this case, there's something as simple as started drilling with your left hand or started using your left hand, maybe just to eat, maybe just to write, maybe just to do any sort of activity which you would otherwise use your right hand if you're righty or vice versa. Instead of, you know, if you're lefty, then you use your right hand. So that's just really cool. Another thing, well, I mean, just touching on even just a couple, was where this is like Groucho Marx would say, I find the television very educational. Every time someone turns on the television, I walk into the other room and read a book. So it's
Mm.
kind of comical, but it's actually, if you could take things beyond face value, if just
Yes.
someone's saying it, you can, and this is like anything, if you can go deeper into a statement, sometimes we just look at it very basic and it sounds, oh, that was cute, that was kind of funny. But it's actually like very powerful because, you know, reading versus watching TV. Nothing wrong with watching TV, but probably to the extent that we do, and probably to the extent of what we watch. So if you can find substitute watching TV with reading a book, and then if you could actually like read a bit better material, you know, not just any book, you can start with just reading any book, maybe whatever, but it could be tabloid, it could be sensationalized stuff. So, you know, how much value can you get from that? A little. But if you can start to read other stuff, you know, and substitute for the TV that you would normally watch, because then you have people will many times say, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time, just to elaborate on that. And it's not really true. Like you do have time, but a lot of times you sit down and think about the time and the way that you're using it, you'll realize that you're actually quote unquote wasting a lot of time. Time doesn't care what you do with it, but ultimately if we have what we call limited amount of it, then, you know, when it's all said and done, if you're not using that time that you have, which is quote unquote unlimited, in a way that you can use it to benefit or better yourself, then what are you going to be left with? Not enough time. And then when it's all said and done, you're going to run out of time.
Correct.
So, you know, just those couple things, like just to highlight a couple points. I mean, it's so many in there if you just go through it, because, you know, 100 points, what happens though with 100 points on anything where you just list them out is like, you could easily kind of like get lost in just a whole list of things, whereas you don't really kind of incorporate or really get the value of those things. And so it's kind of tricky where you just, you know, go through and say, oh, cool, that sounded kind of cool, whatever. But if you could just sort of like put some of those things down. See, I've listened to that thing a number of times that some of those things are stuck in my head, you know, so I can refer back to. As far as TV for me, like I don't really watch much TV. Matter of fact, I mean, I could go weeks or many days and weeks without even turning on the TV at all. So, I mean, I used to be a TV watcher way back when. And if you think about TV, not just to stay on one point, but they say the average household keeps the TV on something like 6-7 hours a day. So if you do the math on that, it's just an absurd amount of time that you're watching TV, or it's just idly on. Whereas that time could be substituted, not just with reading, but anything else. But I just mentioned reading, you know, just because of how this particular motivational, the 100 point about the motivational using TV, using books over TV, is that because reading can do some profound things in your life if you would actually incorporate it in your life. And if you just read like 10 pages a day, you can read about 3,600 pages a year. which the average book probably complete about 15 or 20 books at least. Whereas the average
Yes.
person, they say, reads about one book a year. The average CEO about one book a week or slightly more. And then you look at the difference between on a monetary level, a CEO versus individual who maybe a CEO makes a couple hundred, 300 plus times more than the average individual. And that the difference could just be in terms of, reading books and not reading books. I mean, there are other things that come into play, but I assure you that reading books could certainly turn your life around in a unimaginable ways. But those are just a couple points. I mean, certainly you can ask questions, as you said you will want to ask questions, and just kind of go through some more that popped up in your head and we can talk about them. Because the book is it's just really cool because a lot of these things you don't think about. And if when somebody brings them to your attention, and if you can meditate on them or start to kind of think about them and use them or ponder those points, you can start to incorporate them into your life, and you can see, like I said, profound things happen, just by changing habits and, especially something like motivating yourself. That's a big thing because a lot of us are demotivated or undermotivated, or actually it's not true because everyone's motivated. It's just, what are you motivated for? So someone will say, oh, he's sitting on the couch, he's not motivated. That's not true. He's just motivated to sit on the couch. So it's just about what your motivations are.
Reggie, how long did you say you've been listening to this book? Since when?
The first time I started listening to that was several years ago. I would probably
Okay.
say like 5-6 years ago.
And you feel it has impacted you?
And I can't, well, in total, because as I've mentioned in previous book clubs, and I mentioned to you, I've listened to thousands of hours of audios over the years. So I don't even know what's inside of me. But the problem with it is that I don't know and I do know. So much so that like I'd say so many things to people and they're like, oh, wow. And I don't even know what I said. So, because it's just so deeply embedded in me that I can't even begin to tell you what I have, but I just know I've listened to so much and read a bunch of books that I do know some stuff and I don't even know what I have yet. This is part of it. This is part of it. Just listening to that a number of times.
Very good, very good. Thank you. Reggie, I have one question for you. What is the one thing that stands out most from this book? What one trait or one belief that you have attached yourself to?
I mean, probably the ones that I touched on, just those alone, because I did mention them. Well, the fact of just, there are more others that you can put together to kind of, bring them together to make a whole. But, just the idea of using something that you don't use, like I said, your left hand, but it's not that, it's bigger than that. It's just the idea of using other parts of yourself that you don't otherwise use that can begin to create and shape you into who you can really be. The fact that we don't use so much of ourselves. So not just looking at it from the standpoint of my left hand or my right hand, depending on what side I use, to then use the other side, but just looking at it in total to say, you know what, let me start using things that I don't normally use so that I can become bigger, better, greater, faster, stronger, and all of that good stuff. So that, and then a combination of the reading, because that's a very invaluable thing, as I spoke to, just reading alone, that a lot of us, we just don't do. There was a point where I would read like maybe even 1+ books in a day, in one day. I would sit down and read, a whole book and then start a second book, so that level of information that you can get, and not that just you have to read every single book, but if you can just focus on even a few key books, there's a point where I've heard people make, the top 100 and 150 books or whatever it is. But if you were just to read even a core set of books like Think and Grow Rich, The Science of Getting Rich, which is not just rich in terms of money, The Science of Being Well, the Subconscious Mind. I can go on and on, but just a short list of books, and you read them, several times over and over and over again, you're always going to pick up on new stuff, because as we move forward, as we grow, as we learn, you become a different person. So you being a different person just by taking on some information, the same information that you may read sounds different, feels different, because you're never the same person. So you could be in a different vibration when you read something one day, and then the next day you're in another state just because you ate something different. You woke up differently. You have better thoughts that day. You drink more water, whatever it may be, a combination of those things. So those things I would stress, the fact of just doing more just using tools and aspects of yourself that you don't use, and do more with it so that you can become, quote unquote, become more. And the fact of just reading such that you can incorporate the value of information into your life, and ask that you may be able to basically take that information and utilize it so that you can, again, become a greater person in all that you do.
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you, Reggie.
You're welcome.
This is very powerful, everything that you just said, and that's a lot of information. This is a really, really powerful book. And anyone got a chance to listen to part of it? Can you either put a 1 in the chat, or just raise your hand, or just come on and say I did? I've muted to 1. Let me put Ty just in case she wants to say anything, but everybody else can unmute themselves. Yes, go ahead,
I
Trudy.
did.
Hi, Trudy.
Yeah,
Yes.
I had an opportunity to listen to a little bit more than a half, and like Reggie was saying, it's highly motivational. I heard Napoleon Hill mentioned a couple of times.
Yes.
And how, you know, some of the thoughts that the guy shared were influenced by Napoleon Hill. So for me, I didn't make notes, so I there's nothing that's standing out in my mind that I'm particularly remembering. But yes, when Reggie mentioned about the double, you know, using both hands to dribble the ball and how it actually develops your brain, I was like, whoa, that's amazing. I should try that. But actually, one of the things that stood out to me as I was listening, one of the things that stood out to me as well as I was listening was the comment about the things that you fear. How you tend to delay doing those things, but just attack it head on and just make the decision to do a bad job at it, and you'd be surprised at how well you might end up doing the thing that you fear doing because you think you're not going to do a good job. So if you tell yourself, okay, fine, I'm going to do it, and I accept that if it's a bad job, it's a bad job, and so what? But at least you actually get it done, and you realize the thing you fear isn't so bad after all. So
got it. Great.
That kind of struck a chord with me. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, I mean,
Thank you,
it was a great
Trudy.
book,
Yes,
and I
it is.
will continue to listen to it over and over again because I want to finish it and just kind of like make note of the key points that I think that I need to apply to myself personally.
So thank you, Trudy. Anybody else before I comment on that? Because Trudy said a lot there, and I want to make sure I get Sharon. Yes, Sharon. Go ahead.
Well, there were 3. I listened to the whole book, and I made a few notes. But there were 3 things that stuck out for me. One of them was, and I don't know what number these were, but one of them was read mystery novels, and that's something that I've never done. And matter of fact, I shun reading any kind of novel or any kind of fiction. I've always looked at, and read, nonfiction. So he said that we can, get a whole lot out
Sharpen
of
our
it.
brains, yes. By reading
So
fiction.
that stuck out. And then the second thing, go to war. And he gave a story about a man who was going to die of cancer in 1 year, and he wrote a book, and he lived past the cancer, so it gave him the motivation. And then also number 3 would be To Face the Sun, where he gave us illustration of Helen Keller and how optimistic she was in her thinking, and we should be optimistic too.
Yes, correct. Thank you, Sharon. This is all good information. This is part of what I was going to say today, but this is good. I have a lot more, so I thank you, Sharon, for sharing, and Trudy and Reggie. Anybody else want to share? Anyone?
I'll say one more thing.
Yep, go ahead, Reggie.
One thing that because for those who've listened to it and have been able to get something from it, and then maybe you might want to pass it on, which is always good to pass these types of things on, because it's like little nuggets that you can take in parts, so that like it doesn't matter that you only listen to 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. Anywhere along the way, you should be able to grab something from it. So I would definitely implore people to pass it along. Like I tend to pass on books and things like that. But one thing that could be tricky for some, and I would, try to get, I say try to get people, but if we could help people past that, because this guy's pretty monotone, and
Yes,
it may be
that's
hard.
right.
It may be hard for a lot of us because of what we have as certain types of dissonances or whatever, where, oh, he sounds boring, oh, he's too slow, whatever, this sort of thing, where you miss out on stuff just because of a cognitive dissonance that you have.
Correct.
And so you have to be very careful with that. So I would just say, like, if we can try to stay with it, or if we're going to give it to someone else, say, hey, please try to listen to it, whatever, just so you get past it. Because just maybe 2 things in there, 1 thing, 5 things, whatever that he says, can be completely impactful, that, you know, not to belabor that term, that, you know, it's just really worth listening to it, because you're not thinking about a lot of this stuff consciously. And so when you hear it, somebody else say it, you know, you stumble on it, someone gives it to you, the amount of change that you can gain from that, if you take it and you actually utilize some of these things, could be so immeasurable. So that's just one thing I would say to that, because he is definitely kind of tricky to stay with sometimes, if you know you're in a certain mindset or mode or mood.
Yes,
so
correct,
you
correct, correct.
definitely you know, try to stay with it if you can.
Thank you, Reg. I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So,
David?
Gina, yeah.
Yeah. Hi. One of the, I enjoyed listening to the book, and, you know, and found them all just pretty much really good information in there. One of the things that kind of like stuck out to me was leave high school. That was, I think, writing down
I love that one.
as I was listening to them.
Right? Yes.
Yeah, leave high school. Yeah, and you know, I was thinking how I different people as women, just a fun, and we think about it. We're brought up, you know, would the neighbor say, you know, what is this person going to think if you do this and you do that? And I remember some years ago, I heard listening to this book. It's Why I Feel Depend on Thought Someone Else's. It comes from Emerson. It's been years ago. Who said that?
You're
then I just
cutting up
today.
Gina. Cutting up, Gina.
Emerson.
Cutting up. It's okay.
Let me go into the living room. Yeah. So I'm gonna go out. It might be a little bit noisy because the kids are here.
It's okay.
But anyway, so I found out that quote was from Emerson, and I remember reading about him a few years back. You know.
Can you just say that again, the quote, so I can type it out? Because can you just say it again,
okay.
what you remember?
Yeah. It says, "Why should the way I feel depend on the thoughts in someone else's head?" Okay. And anyway, that just struck with me, and that's one of the things I guess I have been struggling with, you know, over time, worrying about what everybody's going to think if I, you know, try to assert myself. You know, how would the family feel about that? You know, how would the husband feel? You know, the kids might feel neglected. So those are some things I wonder if, you know, other people on here struggle with those things. Sometimes we always worry about what other people think, and that can be something that really holds us back, you know, without us even knowing it.
Got it. Yes, that's right. That is correct. Mm-hmm. That is correct, Gina. People will try and keep us down without thinking any other way. And 2 of the things that I wanted to say about this book, Gina just hit upon. One of them is there are 2 types of people who are out there in the workforce. One of them is always aware of complaining, of what's going wrong, that they don't like this manager, that they don't like this person, that they're unhappy with their hours, that they feel they should be somewhere else. But then there's another type of worker, and that's the one who's always giving ideas. So which one do you want to be? You want to be the one that gives the complaints, or do you want to be the one that gives ideas? Managers know that most workers who are hard workers will complain, and they find their way around it, not telling them what they have to do in the sense of saying you shouldn't be complaining, but they let them so that they don't know how to get ahead. So if you don't want to get ahead, then keep complaining. But if you want to get ahead, then find the ideas, find ways to innovate, find ways to create. It's that simple, very simple. And he mentions it towards the end of the book. So thank you for sharing that, Gina. That's very, very powerful. I don't know if Gisela or Elmer want to share anything. I want to give them a chance too, if you like. Just remember, this is your space too to share. So going once, going twice. I guess they can't talk. Probably Elmer's putting his baby to sleep, which I don't mind. And Gisela probably just got home and has to cook for everyone, or has to do some work with the kids. But I want to tell you this quickly. Number one, at the beginning of this book, he talks about Arnold Schwarzenegger and how his first reality with life was weightlifting, and he was very successful at it. So he went into movies, and his first movie was crap. It's no good. No one's really heard about it. But what did the author of this book ask Steve Chandler? Well, first he said, "What do you plan to do after now that you've done this movie?" And although Steve Chandler knew it was not great, Arnold Schwarzenegger told him, "I plan to become one of the best known actors in the world," or something of that nature.
You said the highest grossing actor.
The highest grossed actor. Thank you.
The highest paid actor.
Highest paid actor. Thank you, Reggie. And did he achieve it? Jeez.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, he achieved it. And, I like watching Arnold Schwarzenegger, although we all get to our age and then we tend to move on. Everything good is not bound to last forever. So that's just a reality. So what does this tell you about Arnold Schwarzenegger and about ourselves? Is that you might not be where you want to be, but what are you doing right now? What are you doing right now to create your future now? What are you doing right now to create your future right now? All right. For me, I try to wake up 1 hour earlier. I think I said this last week. I like to wake up at 6, so I try to wake up at 5. I still stay in bed, but I start to imagine myself in what I want in life. And some of these things are beyond me, and my brain tells me, you're not going to do that. You're not going to have a private jet. But then I tell myself, nonsense, I'm going to have a private jet. What did I do? Last week, and not this Sunday, last Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, I went to Teterboro Airport. For those of you who are familiar, that's a private jet airport. And that's where I want to be someday. So I don't know that I'm going to be there tomorrow, but I know I will get there. And, it might be a far-fetched goal right now, but I know I'm working towards it. So what are you doing to create your goals right now? Now, to create them, you've got to write them down. You've got to make a plan, right? Have you written them down? I've written these down, but I've got to go and update them. And by next week, I will update all these goals. Anyone need help with that? Anyone want to work with me on that? We can get together through Zoom. Through Zoom, we can get together on a daily basis. We can put in an hour or two of solid time to work on our goals. You don't have to create it all in 1 hour, but you should dedicate some time to realizing your goals, your future goals, right? Or do you want to always remain where you are currently? Are you happy with that? Are you building on top of that? By all means, if you're happy with it, then that's fine. So I really liked one other thing that he said, and this is true, and I really feel this. We are all angels, but we're angels with only one wing. The only way that we can fly is when we embrace. I feel that each and every one of you is embracing with me right now, and I feel that I am embracing with you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the way I feel. For each and every one of you on this call right now, we're embracing. We're flying together. Is that crazy? Anyone?
No, it's good.
Thank you, Reg.
It's good.
No.
Hi. Go ahead, Ty. Ty. Oh, Ty unmuted, but I guess she went. But Trudy, go ahead, Trudy.
I was going to say that's great, David. And I have written out a few of those goals myself. What I haven't refined or defined so far is the action plan to getting there. And though I'm actually working on things, but I feel like I probably need to be a little bit more clear in my action plan to achieving those goals. So perhaps you and I can work together on that.
So this is what I want to challenge people, is that I'm not looking to get 100 or 200 people to come, but for April, I'd like to set aside a Zoom seminar that lasts anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. And I have some other people who are also interested in this, and we just work on our goals and our plan, how to get there. And we work on it together through Zoom. I don't know if the restrictions will be lifted by April, so I'd like to be open to the possibility of doing it through Zoom. Now, I've been asking a lot of you to take some time off. I don't know if you will be able to, but we'll see what we can do, right? So keep it open, and by next week, I will have that plan ready if it's going to happen or not, if that's okay. So that's one. Number two is there are 100 ways to motivate yourself, all right? And there's an average of 30 days a month. So in order to be able to see a lot of these motivational ways, I'm going to create a one-pager so that you can go over 3 of these on a daily basis, if that's okay. You don't have to live up to this. I'm going to do it for me. But if you like it, it's yours. If you want to pass it on to somebody else, it's yours as well to pass it on to someone else. But this has opened up a way that I was looking for, because I was using Benjamin Franklin's 13 virtues, but some of them are outdated. And although they're simplified, I think that these are much easier. And you can choose. You'll have 3 a day, for example, and you choose one. You don't have to choose all of them. But it's not going to work in one day. You've got to do this over and over and over again. And we've got to keep each other accountable in reference to getting to our goals. So I'm going to create this page. I know Trudy said she was going to review the audio. I'm going to review it again because I have most of them written down, but I had to stop because I had some things to do with my daughter, and my daughter's home all day. So guess what? I have to trade and take care of my daughter at the same time, and she likes to watch when I trade. So that's just the reality. So another thing that I learned here is number 33, imitate Columbo. Now, Columbo was a famous actor, and what did he do? Aside from making people laugh, he asked questions. If you want to be a fantastic salesman, you've got to ask questions, right? That's plain and simple. That's it. You want to be in sales? Ask questions. For me, in sales, I'm selling right now, but I haven't lived up to it because I'm not making much money on it. So that's what happens. Number 42, invent games. Most of us take life way too seriously, or we don't think that games are worth it. Games are worth it. Make simple games. Make them with your kids. Make them with your, with your partner, with your friends. Simple games. Nothing crazy, all right? I don't want people going crazy here, all right? Now, rewind your thoughts. What does that mean? Rewind your thoughts. That was number 47. Write what motivates you, right? What motivates you? What is going good in your day? What could go better in your day? What could you add to your day? Number 48, make things up. Always think of what you have to do, things that are easy to do, all right? Most of us think that we have to do complex things in life. No, do the simple things, the simple tasks. read for 30 minutes, or listen to audio for 30 minutes, or the time that you've allotted. And that's it, plain and simple. Let's go down to number 61. All right. Get coaching. Who's coaching you? Who's your accountability partner? Don't just get any accountability partner. You got to get someone who's going to challenge you. All right. Get someone who's going to challenge you. You don't have to talk to them for hours and talk to them for 10 minutes a week. All right. The lessons that you learn from getting coached are so that you can see yourself subjectively, which will what? It leads to growth. Did you know that? That someone who challenges you will see you outside of yourself. And it subjectively leads you to more growth. All right. If you have to leave the home, you cannot do it right now. That's number 62. But I find that it's really important to leave the home. Although I'm confined to the home and I don't feel upset about it, welcome it, embrace it, because it's not going to be forever. You're going to be out of your house before you know it, for those of you who cannot leave your homes. All right. Now, the 4 circles. He mentioned this at least twice, the 4 circles. Create your own universe in 4 circles. The first circle, what's your lifelong dream? The second circle, my year. What do I have to save in, what do I have to do in a year to realize my lifelong dream? In the third circle, what do I have to save each month to get to my goal? And then number 4 is, what do I have to do each day to assure my month's goals are met? Each day to reach your month, each month to reach your year, and each year to reach your lifelong dream, monetary dream, or whatever it may be. All right. Now, let's see, where is it? Sharon mentioned go to war in reference to Anthony Burgess, was diagnosed with cancer, and he was given a year to live. And that year, he thought to himself, man, I have nothing to leave my wife and children. He was 40 years old, completely broke, and his wife, Lynn, was going to be left a widow, right? So what did he do? He said, I know one thing that I can do. I've never tried it before, but I know I'm good at it. And he wrote 5.5 novels in 1 year, even with his cancer death sentence. You know what? He lived another 40 years. He lived another 40 years. Anthony Burgess was good with comedy, and he was good at writing novels. He wrote, I believe it was a total of like 70 or 80 books. Unbelievable. So you can always start something new. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you're crazy starting something new. All right? Now, this is when he said, that Sharon mentioned, during times of war, suicide goes down. We're in time of war right now with this coronavirus, the flu, sinuses, allergies, stress, depression. We're in time of war right now, but the environment around us is changing so vastly that we just need to be challenging ourselves from within. Ask yourself, what would you do if you had Anthony Burgess's predicament? What would you do? All right. What's my goal this year? I need to write 2 books, and I'm getting anxious because I haven't started yet. Well, sorry, I've started one. I made an outline, and on both of them, actually, I've made outlines. So I've just got to get started. I'm getting anxious. Why? Because I got into an audit. The government's auditing me. So I'm trying to make all the proof I can so that I can get out of this audit quickly. Right? And I know that some of you know what an audit is like. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. I don't like it. So shine your light. Number 76. God's angels take themselves so lightly. That is why they can fly lighter. Sorry, I put laughter on here. It's lighter. So they can fly lighter. Shine your light on others, because if they grow, you grow multiplied. All right. Always, number 79, see the gold. Opportunities multiply when you choose to see them. see the gold even in the worst of circumstances. Right now, we're going through this coronavirus. Man, if you knew the amount of people I've had to consult in reference to health at the same time that I'm doing stock trading, it's unbelievable. I'm making money. I'm making money. I hope you're making money. If you're not making money, call me during the day. Send me a message. Let's talk. All right? There's more than one way. It took me time to get here. Number 80, simplify. Are you doing 30, 20, 40 things a day? How do you simplify? You're not going to do it on your own. Get a coach. Let's simplify our lives. All right? I can keep going on and on, but I want to leave it here because if it's okay with you all, I'm going to get you a list. I'm going to break it down into a calendar type of a list, and it's going to be an open-ended calendar where I'll put 3 of each of these on a daily basis, and you can either put it on your phone, you can print it out as many as you want, and each month you just go over it, and try and live up to one of these. I'd say the most important thing right now is, what are you doing right now to create your goal? Everything is important in this list, but create your future now. Don't live for the past. Don't live for the future. Live for now, because now is happening. So if, God forbid, we all have to leave this earth, you are creating your future right now. I believe you're not going to die, but your body will. I believe you're going to live on. Believe it. So there's many more ways to motivate yourself, and there's much more to talk about in this book, but each and every one of you, I want to thank you for motivating me to do this, because in the beginning I was uncertain. I was filled with disbelief. I can't do this. I cannot teach a class. I cannot have groups to grow. But then I realized I've learned so much. I have things to share. And each of you has shared with me. And this is what a mastermind is about. All right? Stay focused on today. Create your future now. These are the things that he's saying. Think and grow rich. He's repeating them, and we're not aware of this in different ways. All right? Always face the sun. The last few days I haven't been able to go out and face the sun. I could, but I'd rather stay home because my little one cannot get out. So you do what you need to do to live up to some of these. Pick the ones that you like most once I write them down. Is this a good plan for everyone? Can we unmute? Unmute? I'm going to mute some of you. Maybe some of you cannot get unmuted, but there you go.
Wonderful plan, David. Wonderful plan.
Thank you, Ty. Thank you, Ty.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right. All right. All right. Trudy.
Yes.
Trudy?
Thank you, David.
All right. Thank you too. Thank you. Trudy.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mr.
David.
Diaz.
Yes.
Awesome idea. Thank you, David.
Gina. Yes.
Yes. Awesome.
All right. All right. Well, for the rest, these are the 3 things that we're going to do. 1, I'm going to work on that sheet for next week. Number 2, Thursday, we're supposed to have a meditation session with, I think it's Ruth and Gina, but Gina's here, so I don't know if Ruth can make it, but so if...
Yeah, she's actually looking forward to it. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
And I'm not sure why she's not on right now. I know she went to Alabama, but anyway, she was going to be on tonight.
Wow. So she's traveling. Okay. Well, so I'm going to reach out to her because I'd like a simple flyer, even a 2 or 3 liner just to say, come and join us meditation with Gina and Ruth or something like that. Usually it's better just to have one person communicating, but
yeah, she would be the one. Yes. You can put her on there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I hope that some of you can make it, because a live meditation is always better than a recording, but a recording is just as good. So we will record this. All right, everyone, this is it. We have come to the end of this class. I hope that you've got a lot out of this, or at least one thing out of this. If you've got one thing, then you're ahead of the game. All right. So thank you, everyone. Let me see. Reggie put something in the chat. Thank you. Blessings all. Thank you, David from Sharon. Blessings from Reg. And yeah, I appreciate that from each and every one of you. So I'm going to post this recording later tonight in the chat, as well as the new book tomorrow. I'm going to try and do the shorter books for the next 2 or 3 weeks. But if you can listen to them at a faster rate. Reggie mentioned this guy is monotonous. You can accelerate the speed of listening to the voice. That's what I do. And I listen to it in 30 to 45 minutes, this book, twice. So you can do the same. All right, people? Take care, everyone. Have a great evening and talk to you soon. I'll see you Thursday.
Have a
All
great
right?
night, everyone.
Thank you,
Good night,
Reg.
guys.
Thank you,
Good night.
everyone.
Thank
Thank you.
you for
Good night.
doing
Thank
this,
you,
Dave.
David. Thank you, Reg.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Ty.
Good
Thank
night.
you, Gina, Gisela, Reggie, Elmer, Trudy. Bye. Sharon, bye.
Mhm.